Test, test. I don't think the microphones are on. Test, test, test. There we go. Test, there we go. All right. We are going to call the meeting to order, 6:04 PM. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the June 3rd Bruce Township Planning Commission meeting. Our meeting start time is 6:04. Dana, would you call the roll, please?
Jay Vinson.
Here.
Blaylock. Oh, that's an old one.
Here.
Hale.
Here.
Hagelstein.
Here.
Cant.
Here.
Boyce.
Here.
Barnett.
Here.
D. Vinson.
Here. We have a quorum. So before we start the business part of our meeting, I would ask that you rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. This is a public business meeting of the Planning Commission, but we do welcome public comments at various points throughout our agenda. We do request that you sign in on the sheet at the table along the wall there to my right if you haven't already done so. Planning Commission is made up of 7 Bruce Township residents appointed by the board. And in addition, we have our township employee, Dana Buchanan, who is the planning coordinator for Bruce Township. We also have Joe Tangari, a professional planner with Giffords Webster, who advises us in the work that we do. In these opportunities to address the Planning Commission this evening, if you do elect to come and speak, we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. When you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record, and we would just kindly remind you to address any comments to the commissioners and not anybody in the audience. And on the behalf of my fellow commissioners, we appreciate your participation this evening. Okay. Commissioners, we've got agenda, approval of the minutes. So we've got the minutes from the May 6th meeting.
I got a couple of corrections.
Okay.
Jared, between Dana and I, we didn't catch them. Dana, at the bottom of page 5, says, subcommittee is asked to review the language in depth, but he wanted to provide the commissioners that apostrophe should be taken out. End of the second paragraph from the bottom.
I see it.
Yep. And then toward the top of page 6, where we are.
I got that. The battery cage?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that.
Thanks. And then further down in the motion, there, along about the middle of the page, it says, to a zoning ordinance amendment to include indoor industrial should be taken out. Should just say indoor recreational uses. And at the top of page 7, Boyce asked about our planning commission, it should say meeting in July.
All right, thank you for those, Anne Marie.
I had just one other.
Okay.
Page 5, end of the 5G paragraph. It says Commission D. Vinson. I think it should be Commissioner.
Oh, yep.
All right.
I didn't go back and check, but Andrew, the comments you were making about lot splits, was that technically under comments from commissioners? I think that's something that should be on our agenda to start looking at the frontage, so,
You know, during the master plan debate, so I believe that's the right place. I mentioned it at the end of it.
okay.
I went back and watched the meeting, and you did say it before the end, but I think it,
I was just reiterating.
exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right, a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cant. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Next up is item 5, approval of the agenda for this evening. Commissioners, any changes or edits to the agenda?
I have a question, Jared.
Okay.
About 7C, which is the public hearing on indoor recreation in the LI1 district, which was what was presented to me as the secretary in the public notice that went out in the paper. I want to say it was about maybe the 21st or 22nd. But the language that we have presented to us to discuss includes more than just the LI1 district. It's also proposing, albeit minor, changes to C2 and C3. We didn't discuss that at the last meeting, and it wasn't in the public notice that was put in the paper. So I'm questioning the appropriateness. This is procedural, it's not the content of what was presented.
Sure.
But I'm questioning the appropriateness of moving forward with a public hearing when the notice was not complete.
Joe, any thoughts on how we should handle that, if that's?
Yeah, the two items that she's talking about in the amending ordinance are things that I kind of realized as I was putting it together. I was like, why wouldn't we also do this?
Understand?
So I put them in there. Your point about them not being mentioned in the notice is well taken, though. Yeah, from a procedural standpoint, I think, though it makes sense to also handle those other two districts, it probably would.
I'm not disputing that, the content of it.
It probably would be best if we left those out, given that they weren't advertised.
Well, and I mean, and that this kind of draws another question, when we get to it, if we keep it on the agenda. I have a lot of concerns about the content. So it doesn't, personally, it doesn't make a difference to me whether we proceed and take out the C1 or C2, or we just delay the whole thing, because I think it needs rework, and then just renotice properly. Because I do agree with what your thinking was, we missed it in the last discussion and in the notice, but I get the logic. Whatever we end up with for LI1, it would seem logical to put that
Yeah.
as well. So I don't know what everybody wants to do.
I think we delay based on more work needing to be done.
I think you have to get to the item and you have to open the hearing. You have to let people comment.
Because there was a public hearing
Yeah,
published?
Exactly. So we've got a published hearing.
Okay.
So we have to do that. And then we can talk about what we might want to change and what we might want to do from there.
So we're not,
We're keeping it on the agenda.
all right, but we're not going to worry about the fact that the public notice wasn't complete.
No,
Not at this
we-
point.
We'll handle that in the discussion of the item.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else on the agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Make motion. Support?
Motion by Commissioner Cant, seconded by Commissioner Hale. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda is approved. That takes us to item 6 this evening, which is our public comment. So if you are here with comments you'd like to share with the Planning Commission that are not related to our public hearings, which are, we have an SLU for an accessory building, and we have the indoor recreation that we were just discussing. So if you would like to provide public comment to the Planning Commission, now is the opportunity to do so.
On one of those items?
Not on one of those items. Yeah. All right. Seeing nobody coming forth, we are going to move on to our public hearings this evening. So, Commissioners, as you can see, the first one was postponed, so that'll be happening in July. That would make the Clark special land use request up next. Yes, please. Are you Justin?
Yes.
All right, yeah, if you could just kind of give us a little overview of what you're looking for here. Get that from you, and then we'll have Joe give us his rundown, and then don't go far, we may have some questions for you.
My name is Justin Clark. I live at 72657 Henry D. Drive in Pond Creek Estates, the street. I'm looking to get a special land use to build a accessory building, which is going to be a garage. That's bigger than what Bruce Township says I can build on my size property. I'm on about 3.7 acres, and I'm looking to build a garage that's about 2,066 square feet when the bylaws say I can only build up to 1,700 square feet. The garage is going to be strictly to hide vehicles, trailers, recreational vehicles, stuff just so I can keep it clean, keep my lot neat. I've already filled up the garage on my main house. It's going to be completely matching my house, same brick, same shingles, same stone, same garage doors, 100% matching the facade of the house. It's going to blend in, look real nice. I feel I need that size. This is where I plan to stay for my whole life. I just started a family. We had my first daughter last week. This is where I want to stay, where I want to grow. So if I make the investment in this garage, I want it to be a size that I feel is appropriate. We have a family boat, RVs, and some other things that I plan to keep in this. Not doing any work in it, nothing like that. It's just a garage to keep everything neat and tidy and look good.
Okay.
That's about it. I provided you guys even architectural plans for it. I had some images that I kind of show you, visualize what it's going to look like. That's pretty much it. If you got any questions, let me know.
Okay, thanks, Justin. So we're gonna,
Want me to stand here or sit down?
you can sit down if this is more comfortable, certainly. Joe, you wanna walk us through your review?
Sure, yeah.
The items that called out specifically?
Yeah, the reason we're looking at it is on a 3.66 acre site, you would typically get 1,700 square feet of accessory building. It's proposing 2,066 square feet, and that requires special land use approval. And, this is probably the most common type of application we see at the Planning Commission. Site's owned R1A, all the surrounding properties are as well. It's all single-family homes and vacant properties. We require a minimum setback of 12 feet between an accessory building and another building, so this has an 84-foot building-to-building setback. In the R1A district, accessory buildings have to be set back a minimum of 10 feet from any side or rear lot line. So this is 16.5 feet from the sideline and 74.8 feet from the rear property line. It's over 175 feet from the cul-de-sac and is located in the rear yard, which is where it's supposed to be. 2,066 square feet is about 21% over 1,700 square feet. For your reference, this size lot allows 2 accessory buildings. This would be the only such building on the site. The maximum height for an accessory building over 850 square feet is 29 feet. We didn't see the full building height on the plan, but there is a measurement provided just below the midpoint of the peak and the eave, and it did appear that the building would be compliant, but we would like to just confirm that it's compliant with that height. Then we have our 4 standards for approval of a accessory building as a special land use. And I did note that the applicant provided some photos of the site and renderings of the proposed garage, basically showing color scheme and materials to match the house. So this is a special land use, so you make a recommendation to the township board rather than giving the final approval. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to discuss them.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll work on it.
Sure.
I did obtain letters from my neighbor that is on the property line. He approved it, signed it, so that's part of the package, as well as obtained approval from my HOA, and they're all good with it as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks, Joe. Commissioners, any questions for Joe and/or the applicant?
I have a question, Joe. Is my math correct that it's about maybe an acre and a third off the next cutoff.
Yeah,
in what we
correct, yeah.
allow. So it's a
Yeah.
pretty big gap.
It goes up to five acres is the range.
Thank you.
I haven't had time to read through all of the rules, but so you're saying they're allowed 2 accessory structures. Are they both allowed to go to 1,700 square feet? Or
It's
is it
total,
Okay, that's what I
yeah.
thought.
And there's not another one on the site, this would be
No.
the only one.
Right.
I have a question for the applicant. Jared? if
Yeah.
I could. Am I correct in looking at your pictures that the new garage will be apparent from the road?
There's no way it wouldn't be, but my house is set at an
Yeah,
angle because I'm
okay.
moving the cord, so you would be able to see it. It is
Cor-
set back though in the far left,
Right.
far right corner of the property.
But you would see both?
You would see it. But it's, again, it's gonna look same exact as the house, same brick, same, everything would be, same builders, and I'm using the same builder to build my house.
How big is your garage that's attached to your house?
I had to make that smaller because of Bruce's township, but it's 1,486 square feet, which is 33.3% of the house because.
So how many cars can you get in there?
I have 4 in there now, and they all, they're just full.
So you're, okay. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I have, yeah, I have a 4
Got
in
it.
the garage, and it's already full, and I have another good bundle of other things that I can put in the garage, so I do plan on using all of it. I feel it's necessary.
Justin, I think Joe had a question on the height. Did you know?
Yeah, it'll be under, it will certainly follow the height restrictions, it'll be under 10 feet. I can see if it's on this drawing, but it will definitely be under, it will definitely follow the code for height.
Okay,
There's no reason why it should have to be any taller, there's no second story in there, nothing like that.
okay. All right, other comments, questions from commissioners?
I have comments when we're ready to discuss it amongst yourselves.
I think we're ready.
Oh, okay.
Don't we have to have the public hearing?
Oh. Yes, we do. Not my first time, I should know that. All right, I make a motion to open the public hearing at 6:21 PM.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cant. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the public hearing is open, so if anybody here is here to speak regarding this project, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and share your comments with commissioners, please.
Hi, my name is Becky Douglas. I'm a longtime resident of Bruce Township. I live at 72622 Salinas Drive, and this structure would be within 500 feet of my backyard. So the first thing I noticed when I got the ordinance several weeks ago about the public hearing is that the address listed on the paper, I had to drive through the sub. There are currently 3 existing homes, one that has a basement that has just been dug on this street. I had to figure out which home this was by process of elimination because there is no address posted on this home. It is not at the street, it is not on the home. Then it doesn't follow it has to be 20 feet from the road, it has to be a minimum of 4
Please
inches
address
tall.
your
It's
comments to
not-
commissioners.
Can't see it. So you can't see it. I've already had to listen in the building of this sub, constant noise, construction for the past 4 years. We've had to contact the sheriff about trees that have fallen over into our yard that have not been cleaned up properly. We have had to make complaints about the noise violation in Bruce Township, which is after 10 PM and before 7 AM on Sundays, holidays, Mother's Day, Easter, all of it. We have had large chunks of rock, stone thrown down into our yards at our $20,000 patio doors where our children play, where our pets are outside, where we sit on our patios, because there are not proper safety, which is again with the building, not this structure itself. But I don't really want a structure within 500 feet of my home, something else being built that is throwing more rocks into my yard where my children play. This is also my forever home. I've raised twins in this home, and it's extremely loud. And I have some questions about the proposed structure, some of which may have been answered. Whether or not is being used for business purposes or to generate revenue of any kind, what its intended purpose is. Does it bring more traffic and cars that I have to listen to closer to my home? What activities are going to take place in this structure? Loud music, tools, machinery. Like I've said, we've had enough of that for 4 years. I'd like to know whether or not the structure will contain a drain and what kind of chemicals, fertilizers, anything like that could be put down that drain that could potentially find their way into my yard, in my well. We had an issue with that several years ago as well. And what retribution our sub-residents have if something gets into our wells, or if there is, things being put down a drain in this structure. Would it be wooded? Would there still be trees behind the structure with the sub that's been there for, 20 years? We all pay in that sub well over $10,000 in taxes a year. And we would like, the sanctity of what we've built and what we've had to stay that way as well. I would really ask the board to think about those of us that have been here for years in this sub, paying taxes before agreeing to, just contaminate this land with more stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. No, there's no need to answer them directly.
No.
No, we don't want to get into a back and forth thing that could get a little out of control, so, no, that's okay. So just to clarify, we're not here to debate if the applicant can build something on his property or not. Everybody has rights within the ordinance, or what he's going to do with it. Really, what the question is, should it be allowed to be built at the size that's being requested? So, some of the things and questions that have been raised in the public comment are not things that the Planning Commission is in the scope of what we can address. Some of that would come through building permits. Others just generally would handle through the township ordinances. So, but thank you for your comments. Is there any other comments here this evening on this project? Seeing none, I move to close the public hearing at 6:26 PM.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barnett. Or all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so it's back to the commissioners to discuss.
So looking this over, there's two things that really stand out to me. One, the building is beautiful. You can't refute that. It would look very nice, but there's no hardship on the land that would justify us allowing a structure to be over by 366 square feet. And if we did approve this, we would be setting a precedent. And everybody in the township who has a lot of stuff is going to come in asking for a bigger building. In the past, we have mainly approved SLUs for property owners who were looking for the side or the rear or front yard. I don't think historically we really approve additional square footage.
If I can add regarding the front and side yard, that was based on a topographical hardship where the property would not allow placement of the building in the rear yard.
Right, so we have to be able to justify our actions, and I'm having a hard time finding reasons to justify this.
Okay.
May I suggest going through the 4 questions under item 9 in the letter, kind of one by one as a discussion item, so that you're, going through each of the standards that we review this on?
Okay. Before I do, Mandy, the one comment I would have back on that is we did approve one on Henry Ross Drive for that exact same reason.
Anne Marie, you put a spreadsheet together.
Yeah.
There was more justification to it.
Well, there always is, but I think that was the original.
Right. But
Right, there
I don't
was,
see what else we
There
can
was a
say for
trade-off.
this.
It's a trade-off, I think, with unused garage square footage. Is my recollection correct on that, Emery?
that's correct. And I mean, I went back and reread it. There were several distinguishing factors. Number one, that part of his square footage allotment was because the way our ordinance is written was taken up by a pump house, which, right, that was chewed up some of the square footage allotment. Secondly, is that we did talk about that meeting, about his potentially expanding his existing garage, which he had an allotment to do, but it would have looked ridiculous because of how his house and his garage was built. There was also, in the case of his, what he was doing was he wanted to put an addition on an existing accessory building. It was in the back. It wasn't apparent from the road. So that was a combination of things why he was granted. And in that case, it was 250 square feet. The other ones that we've had that were related to size and not location in front and back. We had the lady on Lasser Road, which they didn't even have a garage at all. And there was no place to put a garage because of the confines of their lot, and it went way uphill in the front. And what they wound up was doing an addition to their accessory building, and that one had a complication because of their chicken coop, which was attached, and under our ordinance also had to be included in the square footage. Then we had two people who came and wanted a bigger garage. One fellow, he actually, at the meeting, he changed his application. He said, I just want permission to do it in the side or the front, whatever it was. And he said, I'll meet the square footage requirements. Then another guy, it was probably over an hour discussion. He was here with his builder, and we ended up tabling it because he wanted to consider his plans some more. When he came back, he only proceeded with the location, and he voluntarily withdrew the square footage. And then the last one we had was the fellow, this was about a year ago, he only wound up at 200 square feet, and he was the one who wanted to build an extra garage similar to this, but where he located it, it was gonna drop way off. There was a big dip, and it was next to his pool, so he was kind of building it into what would have been a hill with a garage on the top, and he had a basement in the bottom, and it was gonna shore it up next to a retaining wall. And the basement counted toward the square footage, which is very atypical for a garage or an accessory building. So those were all how that came about. That last one was only 200 square feet.
But the main footprint fell within the square footage requirement.
Yes. The main footprint, yes, it did,
Thank you.
yes. So to Mandy's point, I was looking at the same thing as I was studying this, because, we've always crafted something very narrowly, because I wasn't on the PC. But I believe that little table we have where, kind of breaks down how much space you're allotted square footage based on your acreage, we upped all that, if I'm not mistaken, and added in another kind of category breakdown so as to overall become more, not as restrictive, to make us more like other cities.
Yeah, we revisited the ordinance approximately 4 years ago.
Okay.
Joe, you got the exact time frame, but did benchmarking of similar communities at this latitude, east and west, and that's how we came up with the comparative values of where we're at right now.
I mean, Rick, I've often heard you say what happens when we make allowances without underlying factors.
You want me to play the tape again?
Well, go for it.
Basically what it is, we allow without conditions that make the application unique, that, in my opinion, it runs the risk of becoming the new standard for other similar applicants without hardships and to follow suit.
So Joe suggested that we go through the special land use items. So first one is, there is proportionality between the size of the lot, the street frontage, and the size of the accessory structure.
I would disagree on that it's met, because that's the reason we have the table in the ordinance, is to define what is, what's the right total square footage we're looking at on any piece of property. Barring the limitation in the ordinance, then, yeah, I'd say it probably is proportional to the house, but we have an ordinance.
Well, I don't think this question, is it asking you relative to the ordinance? Or is it asking you relative to the size of the lot, the frontage, and the accessory structure? I think it's just looking, does it all relatively look reasonable?
Could go either way, because it's subject to interpretation.
Item 2 says accessory structure is in harmony with the principal structure, the environment, the topography, and the surrounding properties.
I would say it's definitely in harmony with the principal structure. It's beautiful.
Item 3 says materials and colors of the proposed accessory building match or complement the principal building.
Yes.
We know that they do, they're matching. And item 4 is accessory building permitted in the side yard does not exceed ground floor. This is not in the side yard, so that's not really relevant. Okay,
I think beyond the 4 items in, under 9, I mean, we need to look at everything that's in the memo. And, obviously, the thing we're having difficulty with, correct me if I'm wrong, is item 5.
Can I ask the applicant a question?
yep.
Is there something in
The applicant should come to the mic to answer.
Okay. Is there something in the size of the building? I see your long side. It's a beautiful building, by the way. I love the way the front looks. It doesn't look like it's anywhere near the size that it is, but there's a 50-foot side, and then the other side's 41. If that building depth was reduced by 8 feet, you would be completely within
I
ordinance.
wanted a bay that was 50 feet specifically because my vehicle and my trailer is 50 feet when I have it
Okay,
connected.
so that's going to accommodate a vehicle
So
and
I really
trailer.
wanted that long bay, and the 1,700 square foot that I had it drawn at initially created just an awkward T shape to the building, so I'd rather bring out the back to make it match, so it's one singular wall. It just makes it look like a really awkward structure if I didn't do that, but I'm very set on, like, I won't do it if I can't have a 50-foot bay. It's what I need to fit what I want to put in there, so it's pretty important. And if I'm able to make any additional comments, I compared Bruce's ordinance for sizes versus Armada, Romeo, Almont, and we are by far the smallest allotment. I could build over a 3,000 square foot garage if I was in some of these other all their neighboring areas. It's pretty low compared to everyone else. It's the lowest by far. Just a general comment.
Can I ask a question of the applicant? Piggybacking on David's question, you said you absolutely, your line in the sand is you have to have 50 feet length.
Yeah.
Is there any other place where you could cut back to bring you within our ordinance? Because our ordinance is our ordinance.
I understand that. I did that with my primary garage, and I had it initially on my house is, I originally only wanted to build a ranch, but I added a bonus room and made my house a 2-story just so I can make the primary garage as big as it is. And I had to narrow my garage already. I know this sounds like, who cares, but I have a line of, like shelving and storage that now I can't put a 4th car there because I can't open my door. I only have 3 cars in my 4-car garage because I have my cabinets and stuff along the right side, which now can't. I originally had it 4 feet deeper, so I could put all my cabinets there, open my car doors, but I can't do that now because I had to narrow up that garage. So I'm not gonna make the same sacrifice with this one. I want it wider, so I have room on either side of my doors to fit my cabinets for my tool storage and stuff like that.
So
But again,
what I hear you saying is what you have before us is it.
This is what I intend to do. This is a huge investment for me. It's not a cheap thing, and if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it the way that I need to suit myself. So,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Other comments, commissioners?
I guess I have another comment,
Okay.
which is I'm really struggling with the basis on how to approve this, because we haven't been presented with anything unique about this. There's no pump house, there's no basement, there's no anything that's chewing up part of the allotment. And, I mean, I wouldn't even know what to put in a motion to approve this compared to all the other motions that we've made, most particularly about size, but even when we do an SLU for even part of a garage that's hanging off into the side or the front yard, I mean, we have well-articulated reasons for why we would do that and deviate from our ordinance. And I can't think of anything.
Anne Marie, I don't have the thing that you prepared for us in front of me, but what the comparison when he said he's got something that with a 50-foot, what was Impastato? Vince Impastato came before us, and he had that car lift that he needed
Yeah,
the space
I mean,
because
that
he
was
had a
back-
special.
That was back a long, long time ago, and it was before we even amended the ordinance, as near as I could tell from the records. And I don't know if he just dropped it, or if after we changed the ordinance, what he wanted to do, because really, while we're looking at his size, it became compliant. I really don't know the answer to that.
Let me look up his record here.
That's a good idea.
The ordinance was amended in November 2021, just for reference.
November 2021?
Yeah. You had asked earlier about where it fell in the range, where this lot fell in the range.
Yeah.
I just did a little bit of math while you all were having a discussion. So he has 3.66 acres. The midpoint between 90,000 square feet and 5 acres is 3.53 acres, just to give you a reference point for the question you asked earlier.
Thank you, Joe.
And Joe, if he was at the 5-acre point, what would the accessory building size be?
If this was a 5-acre lot, the
24, I think.
size would
2,400?
be, 2,400.
Sounds right.
So if we had a grading over a hard line, it would probably slide to this number.
Or sorry, it'd be 2,720 if it was
Right.
over 5 acres.
So if the scale was a gradient scale rather than a hard line scale, it would probably fall into this number. Like if it was 17 for 90.
Oh, and then like
Because
slid
at
it up to
90,000 square
20.
feet, you get 1,700, because at 5 acres, you get 4.999, you get 1,700. If it were a sliding scale over the acreage,
Yes.
things could be accommodated by size rather than be hard lined.
True, yeah, you would have, the additional 366 feet.
It'd just be math rather than a number.
Did you talk about that when you guys redid the ordinance in 2021? You were on that, weren't you, Rick?
Memory is not serving me correctly.
Does any community do it by a gradient, as Andrew was saying?
Like as a percentage of
Yes,
lot
it's
area?
percentage
Yeah.
based.
I mean, I certainly have a lot of communities with smaller lots that do it that way. Like inner suburbs, definitely. A lot of them do it that way.
Yeah, it's just covered during engineering.
Yeah. And there's no reason you couldn't do that on larger lots.
Right. But that's not what we have right now.
Correct.
I don't think we can, it's a really good question.
Right.
Right.
You're talking about another amendment to an ordinance.
I can tell you the reason why we revisited the ordinance is because we were starting to see a proliferation of larger expanded metal buildings. So we wanted to see whether we were being too restrictive or we were, on par with others. And we put some effort into it. So, and actually we ended up expanding one of the rows. Actually, we created a new size building, allowable square footage based on acreage. And I'm just trying to pull up the zoning ordinance here.
Yeah, between 1 acre and 2.066.
that?
Between 1 acre and 2.066, that's the additional column that we
And what's
drew.
the square footage restriction on that?
That is 1,200.
Okay, yeah, that was the new one, because previously it would have been, what, 800 or something like
800,
that?
yeah.
Yeah, so we're trying to loosen it up a bit there. So that was a big outcome. Then including other language, beefing up the matching or complementing materials to try and encourage people to have nicer presentations
Right.
versus commercial-looking buildings
That's just a modern
next
structure.
to nice homes.
Public comments are open?
No.
Very close.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I echo the comment. I mean, this is a beautiful-looking building. But I'm with Anne Marie, I'm having difficulty how to take and come up with approval language without, basically, I guess you could say rewriting this section of our ordinance indirectly.
I mean, I keep hearkening back to the two guys who came in and they had, at least one of them also had a yard placement, but they came in with at least this much over, and they both changed their plan because they knew that it was, there was not a basis for that aspect of it for supporting it.
I think that they were putting a second accessory building up, that they already had like a 1,600 square foot building, and they were building another one that was larger than that.
Which one?
well, you said the two guys came in and they came back and lowered the size.
Yeah.
That's the one on 34 Mile
34
Road.
Mile Road, right.
But also he wanted to build in the front yard.
Right.
So he had topographical issues, and he had, the existing building was already in the front
Already,
yard, so it's
right.
gonna be right next to it. And
Yeah.
he promised to do it complementary to the existing structure, so that was pretty unique where we ended up.
So just,
I have a question for the applicant. Just did some simple math. Understanding your hard line, you want 50 feet. If you made your building 34 feet wide, that would put you right at 1,700. Could you make that work? I mean, understand, you've already got a 1,400 square foot garage, which is huge. Mine's like over 900.
This isn't-
It's 3-car, and that's huge.
I mean, no offense, but everyone has a different version of what they need, and I need what I need, and again, I'm spending 200 grand on this, and it's not something I'm gonna do if it's not what I need, so
Okay, we'll just try to offer up, potential questions that you may be willing to consider.
at this time, I'm not, no. But again, I think I had a huge basis for why this should be approved. I think versus township ordinances is extremely small compared to all the neighboring areas. I think if this gets disapproved, it's for nothing other than you can't find a reason to go against what you guys said, so I'm sticking with it, that's what I need.
Okay, thank you.
How big is your home?
It's about 4,600 square feet,
4,600.
out the basement.
Okay.
So I have another question before you leave. I have this drawing here. It shows the back wall is not squared off on the north side.
The original was, the without the red lines was 1,700 square feet, because I had an architect draw
So
it.
this one cuts in like this.
Yeah, that was the original, drawn to the 1,700 square feet. What my, when I built my house, I paid my architect to do preliminary drawings based on what would not have to require a special land use.
Okay.
And then I went against that and marked it up, but I didn't want to pay him again until I knew if I had a chance of this getting approved. So the red lines is what I'm proposing today.
Okay, so this, I mean, the only reason I bring that up is because this building came in at 1858 instead of 2066. So it's certainly closer.
You're saying the way that is drawn up in red?
Not the way it's in red, the original plans, when you do the square footage.
That was supposed to be 17.
This one, it comes up at 1858.
Okay, that was supposed to be drawn at 1,700 on the dot, is what I was told was.
Well,
what the
I'm
architect-
just using the numbers that are here. That's what it came up at.
Okay.
Okay, just a question.
Yeah, either way, the 2066 is what I'm asking for.
Okay.
I don't want to go any farther with my thing, because mine's all percentage based, and it's, mine would talk about redoing the ordinance, so that doesn't do us any
Yeah.
good here.
Yeah, we have to abide by.
No, I understand it. It's just a-
Ordinance is law. We
At
have to
20,
abide by what's.
I'm just gonna say, at 2066 square feet, at a square lot of 159,430 square feet, it's just barely over 1% of the property. Barely.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the site plans, the plot plan's pretty accurately just explaining how size-wise it is to the property itself. But I get it, it's an ordinance issue, it's not I get it, there's no appetite to amend an ordinance by SLU.
So my comments on this, I think it looks beautiful. Kind of looking at the specifics of this, because I think every one of these is unique. This is being proposed on a parcel that's at the end of a cul-de-sac. So the visibility of this is relatively limited. The neighbor that is most affected by this has voiced support for it. So I think that has some bearing to it. We talked about the lot size. I mean, this section of the ordinance starts at 2 acres. He's over almost double that. He's over the midpoint of the 2 to 5. Again, I know it's not a sliding scale, but I think in my mind that has some, it's an element that factors in, especially when you consider the size of the home. When we talk about proportionality, I mean, the 4,600 square foot home is a large home. And I don't feel like, I wonder, like with 1,700, certainly is it a good sized building? but I don't think 2,000 also is unproportional to what's existing on the property.
Excuse me for interrupting, Jared, but you know, what you say makes absolute sense, but it is not aligned with the ordinance. And that is the law.
I understand.
That's the law
So-
that we're held to unless we can come up with something that justifies.
Well, you can have your comments when I'm done,
Okay.
because this is a special land use request, so it is our option to approve something that could be outside of the ordinance. The applicant would also be essentially foregoing a second accessory building, because he'd already be over the max with one, so doesn't mean he couldn't try to get another one, but I would believe that would be quite difficult to approve. So I think there's some consideration there that there would probably likely only ever be one on this property. I think that has factored into other considerations as well. Lastly, I would just say, and it's not necessarily a point for the planning commission to consider, but where I struggle with some of these is I see projects go on throughout this township that are not permitted, that go well outside of the ordinance. And I think those that come before the planning commission get the most scrutiny, whereas I see a lot of people building just whatever they want. So I struggle with that because those that play by the rules seem to fare the worst. I don't think that's fair. So,
That's an ordinance enforcement issue, correct?
I agree.
One
But
thing-
in practical terms, I think that's not right.
One point of clarification, Jared, I think you said whether we approve or not. I think you meant to say, for an SLU, we are only recommending.
I'm aware of that, yes.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear. Is that whatever we end up recommending, the Board of Trustees will make the final decision?
All right, well, we have spent a lot of time on this, so we need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay?
I recommend to the Township Board that they deny the SLU request submitted by Justin Clark for parcel ID 14-01-27-251-008, seeking approval for an accessory building that exceeds the maximum size allowance under the Township zoning ordinance by 366 square feet. The reasoning being that a unique property condition or practical difficulty to exceed the accessory building size limits has not been established, and it would set an undesirable precedent for future requests based primarily on personal storage needs.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Barnett, seconded by Commissioner Boyce. Any other discussion before we call roll? All right. Dana, would you call the roll, please?
Boyce?
It's clarification, it's yes to deny, correct?
Yes to
Correct.
deny.
Okay, thank you.
Boyce?
Yes.
Cant?
No.
Hagelstein?
Yes.
Hale?
No.
J. Vinson?
No.
Barnett?
Yes.
D. Vinson?
No.
Motion fails. Back to the commission. Is there additional discussion, or is there a different motion to be considered?
So you want to justify this, all the things that you listed don't hold up to me. They're points, sure, but they don't really make sense as a solid way to justify what we're doing. It's literally based on just storage needs. That doesn't really seem to make sense to me, and we are going to get a ton of people that are going to come in with the same request. They want to buy a boat, they want to get an extra car, they want to acquire more things, and therefore our township ordinance should accommodate them. I mean, if we revisited this in 2021, which was before most of our time, and this was looked at, and it was amended then, that wasn't that long ago.
I wouldn't object to relooking at the ordinance another way, if there's a better way. I do object to crafting out essentially a new ordinance by granting or recommending a special land approval, because we don't like the ordinance that we have, at least in this particular case. I mean, and I agree with Mandy. How do we possibly tell anybody else who comes in here and says no? I mean, does it make a difference if you're at the end of a cul-de-sac or at the end of your street? No. I don't.
Well, when I think about the justifications we have done, and again, I'm not saying they're all size related, but visibility of the structure has been one of those.
The what?
Visibility of the structure has been one of those.
That's mostly been related to putting an accessory building in a side yard or a front yard, though.
Can I make a comment on visibility? I made a special effort on my lot to leave a tree line to protect the lots behind me. I have over 150-foot tree line on my west side, and I left another 25-foot tree line on my north side. I found, can't direct it towards the property owner here, but I promise you it wasn't my lot that was disturbing other people's lots. I've been extremely respectful of all my neighbors. I can't see my neighbors behind me. I know my neighbor to the right, cleared over his property line, and there's probably going to be having a little bit of issue here. But myself, I did a very good job of hiding this building, keeping my lot secluded, respecting everyone around me. I keep it super neat, clean. That's all I'm trying to do. I can buy these things and keep them in my back, but nobody wants to see a junkyard. I'm trying to do the right thing here and keep everything contained, quiet, peaceful, and that's all I can say. I mean,
Joe, I got a question towards Anne Marie's comment. If we were to potentially postpone this and then look at the ordinance to see if we would be willing to consider changing our tables, what kind of time frame would we be looking at? I mean, it's not a huge amount of research. I mean,
No, I mean, I guess it's a minimum 90-day time frame, because you have the next meeting that you might look at it the first time, set a hearing, hold a hearing a month after that, and then it would go to the board, so
I would
it would become effective like 15 days after. This is about a 90-day time frame at a minimum. And that's if you agree on everything in the first meeting.
this is a spring 2027 project. Just so you know, I have no problem postponing it. I can't start until spring 2027 anyway, so if you want to table it, I'm cool with it.
yeah,
But I know that that's only lasts for a year, so that's why I was getting ahead of the game.
okay, well, that's encouraging to hear, thank you. We try to hold standards because if we,
I understand them.
we're just trying to prevent being an organization of exceptions.
I understand.
You know, we got rules, we put a lot of effort into it, and so I'd be receptive to taking another look at this. You know, you've got, and actually, if you have factual data supporting your position, I'd be receptive to you sending that to our supervisor. He's the single point contact. He'll communicate it back to us, and we'll take that into consideration as well.
As long as I don't have to pay more money if we postpone it, or?
No, the purpose of postponing it is so your application is on hold, and so you don't lose your application fee. You have an active application based on what we're doing here.
I have a question along that line, and I don't know if it's to Joe or Dana, but we've run into some issues before where we postpone something and it ends up being way longer postponement.
Right. I think setting if Joe can give his best estimate of a time frame, and we try to say, no later than that meeting, it's kind of got a
Right, but
placeholder then.
That presumes a lot. I mean, we still have to get it published and everything else before it can take effect.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that, given that you're dealing with a minimum 90-day time frame, if you were going to set some sort of date for this to come back to you, you would probably want to give it like 6 months on the short
And
end.
if we get it done sooner.
Because we have to get it, our end of things done within that 6 months. And if we still don't have it done at the end of 6 months because discussion goes on, then we could extend that date. But I would say that don't make it less than that.
From the other side of that too, looking at it from the opposite direction is if we did, if we go 30 days past the 90 to September, and if we just table this now until September, and it comes back up again, it's just as easily as dropping that item off this agenda to the next agenda.
Well, that's also true.
You don't have to
yeah.
discuss it at the time if it's not ready.
Right,
But if you say 6 months, it doesn't come back, if you say table for 6 months, it does not come back on before 6 months. You are constraining, even if you're ready.
What we've done in the past is for a maximum of 6 months, so they can come back before that. But we've basically been trying to say, we're not going to wait a year for someone to come back, that kind of thing. In this case, I don't think that's what the applicant would want to do in the first place, but,
So are we putting the onus on the applicant to bring it back after the amendments, if an amendment happens? Okay, now I understand.
yeah, but of course, it would be
Dana would call them.
There would be a conversation
Oh,
happening.
yeah,
Still,
yeah,
you need
yeah.
them to come back in, not us to put it back on the agenda.
Right, that's essentially.
I would
what we're
agree, I
saying.
don't think 90 days is enough, because as you know, there's a lot of stuff in the queue right now. Plus, we've got, the 15 weeks of summertime in Michigan, and people are on vacation. You're gone, last 2 weeks of June, we have the 4th of July, that 10 days surrounding that for everybody is basically, people are kind of in enjoyment mode, so to speak.
Okay, so what are we doing here?
Well, there's
We-
two alternatives, it sounds
Yep.
like. Postpone it as appropriate, as has been discussed, and relook at the language, and that may or may not get approved after we go through the whole discussion, in which case he's back to where he is now. The other option, it sounds like there, on the motion that's been made, that 3 people, did not want to move forward with the proposal as it is at present with our current ordinance language. Does that mean the other 4 would be okay if there was an alternative motion? And if it moves up to the board and they say, yeah, he can do it, then he can do it. If they say no, then we can still relook at the ordinance language.
Yeah.
So we need one motion to basically open up a amendment and.
No.
No.
I think we just need a motion to table this for
Well,
up to 6
no, no,
months.
no.
Because it's a separate issue. If we're gonna look at the ordinance as a separate issue.
Yeah, but don't we need a
Not
motion to
connected.
do that? 'Cause
No.
there'll be a,
No,
okay, so.
I don't think so. We don't need a.
Not right
a
now.
motion to-
Okay, we'll need a motion for the public hearing to follow, right?
Sure.
Okay, all
What I
right.
was talking about in terms of an alternate motion tonight would be if somebody wants to make a motion to recommend approval of what he's got before us right now, and there's 4 votes, then it goes to the board and they decide.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that's necessary. His timeframe is next spring. So if we believe that our ordinance should be looked at and maybe have a sliding scale or something like that, I think we should just,
I'm okay with that, too.
okay. I'm happy to make a motion to table this for up to 6 months. Table this application for up to 6 months.
Table or postpone?
Postpone, it's.
Postpone.
Yeah.
Okay.
I second it.
All right, we have a second motion to table this discussion for up to 6 months. Seconded, motion by Commissioner D. Vinson, seconded by Commissioner Cant. Any other discussion? Dana, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Hagelstein,
Yes.
Cant,
Yes.
Boyce,
Yes,
Barnett,
Yes,
D. Vinson,
Yes.
J. Vinson,
Yes.
Hale.
Yes.
This item is postponed.
Does that mean you guys are automatically going to bring this into the next discussion to work towards potentially a different scale, or do we have to attend meetings to
No, you don't have to do anything to put it into motion. I don't know exactly what will be on the next month's agenda. I think that'll just come based on,
Yeah, we're going to.
that is the expectation.
Proactively communicate with you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
All
your
right.
flexibility as well.
thank you.
Joe, do you have enough to work on a sliding scale?
So my sense of what I should probably prepare for you is, one, an example of what a sliding scale would be and how it would work, and then two would be a comparison to the standards of surrounding communities so that we can reset our sense of what our surrounding communities. It's possible that our surrounding communities have changed their ordinances since we last looked at them.
Yeah.
My concern with the sliding scale is we do have some large acre stuff. so
Okay,
we
Rick,
may
for the
work-
sake of time, can we not get
Okay,
into that
just
tonight?
let me finish one comment and I'm done, Jared. Don't cut me off the knees. So for sliding scale with larger parcel sizes, that it may be overly permissive as compared to what's something.
Yeah, you may have to cut it off somewhere.
Cap it
That's
somewhere?
all I got. Thank you.
All right, that takes us to item 7C, which is the indoor recreation in the LI1 district. So Joe provided some proposed amendments to ordinance 161 that would include a new definition for indoor recreation and structural uses. Joe, do you want to just walk us through what you're proposing here?
Yeah, so there's a couple things going on here. One is it defines the term specifically, indoor recreation or instructional use. And then the draft you have in front of you permits it in the C2, C3, and LI1 districts. It was noted earlier that C2 and C3 weren't mentioned in the notice of public hearing, which is correct. I did look back at the notice of public hearing just to verify that. It was something that kind of occurred to me as I was putting it all together that, like, wow, it really wouldn't make sense not to permit this in C2 and C3 as well. There's that issue that we probably need to weed through today. But also, I'm just interested in your thoughts on kind of where I landed on how I defined the use itself, and what's included in that list of, such as it were, that things that qualify as indoor recreation or instructional uses.
Anne Marie, do you want to share your
Sure,
concerns?
sure. I'm starting with the definition that you've thrown out there.
Which is most of the language. Which is most of the language in the
Correct.
thing, yeah.
And the first sentence I get, it gives examples of what we're talking about, what constitute
Yeah.
indoor recreational use. I don't think that is inclusive enough, and I can tell you in a minute the things that I think need to get added. But the biggest issue I have is in the second sentence. This does not include bowling alleys and dance halls, of course, specifically, or other uses listed separately in this ordinance. And when I look at other uses that are, I find embedded in the ordinance, that's what I went to look for. And some of them are very clear, like an ice skating rink and a roller skating rink. I mean, that's clear as mud. An arcade, a tennis club, a pool hall, or a billiards hall. But the one that's sticking in my mind is we have something called physical fitness establishments. And it's either permitted in C2 if it's less than 5,000 square feet. It's an SLU opportunity in C2 if it's more than 5,000 square feet. But as much as I looked, I can't find any definition in our ordinance of what is a physical fitness establishment. There is none that I can find. Now, Joe, you've caught stuff that I've missed
Yeah,
before,
There may not be
so.
one. It's, doesn't look like there is one.
You helped me when I was looking for family, and it was in single family.
Sure.
So that's why I wanted to caveat that.
Yeah,
But-
I know, I don't believe there is
Right,
one.
so here's where I'm going. It says, the way this is structured right now, it says that if something's a physical fitness establishment, it can't go in LI1 because we've excluded that by definition. But then I look at things that could be a physical fitness establishment. Could be like a health club or a gym like LA Fitness or Anytime Fitness. Then it could be also like a personal training or a cross training, a yoga, Pilates instruction, aerobic studios. Those are things that I think we would want to have in the LI1. You know, to me, it's like,
You don't think that would be covered under the instructional activities such as part?
no, because you've excluded it in the second, the two things don't work together, right? If we had them specified as all in the list in the first sentence, it would be okay. Or if we had a definition for what is or is not a physical fitness establishment, it could work. But the way it is now, it won't work. Because really, yeah, I think that aerobics activity,
Sure.
yoga, that's like recreational activity for, more or less, for an adult.
Yeah.
Or certain teens. So I just think it's not structured the right way to get to where we want. Then I look at other things that are not in the list. They're not really anything like instructional, and they're clearly wouldn't be part of a physical fitness establishment, but it's something like an indoor golf driving range. I mean, that's kind of recreation. You know, an archery range, an axe throwing place. I'm not saying I believe these should all go in there, but there's a lot of openness about it. And then that drives the question is, if we were to leave it loose like this, who's gonna, if somebody comes in 6 months from today, we have this ordinance and they say, well, I want to put an axe throwing facility or whatever you call them in this space in the LI1 district, who's going to make the decision if that's what we meant or not? And then the other thing I noticed, and I know last time we talked about parking, because we were specifically talking about a light industrial building where half of it, for instance, would be used for regular light industrial, and the other half would be used as batting cages or whatever. And we talked about parking. We did say, well, that should self-limit itself, because nobody's going to want to come to the batting cage if there's no place to park. I get that, but the other thing we didn't think about is we have no maximum. So if somebody went and bought up 3 lots on Beaver Creek Drive, and it was 10 acres, they could put up a massive 2-story building there, and it could be 24/7, I don't know, pickleball, you know, practice and leagues. And do we want to put something that big in the industrial district? I don't know the answer to it, but we didn't talk about it. So do you want to have some kind of cap? I don't know. So those are my comments. And I played around with language a little bit, Joe, if we decide to revisit this. And I think Mandy did too.
just for things to add, yeah.
Right.
I would agree with that. There's a lot of, like CrossFit especially, they're not gonna go in a commercial area. A lot of your smaller gyms, when people are starting out, they can't afford the commercial rent, because it's a lot higher than industrial. So you see a lot of those in industrial, personal training gyms, things like that. They need a smaller facility. They don't need all the parking, that a commercial offers. As far as the parking goes, I don't, Olympia Gymnastics is off of, 23 in Shaner area. It's been in the industrial area, and it's a busy place, and they're, my wife her daughter is one of the trainers there, and the parents just figured out where to park.
Right.
A lot of it's they drop their kids off, and then they go to Starbucks, or they just figure it out. So the parking necessarily won't be an issue.
Right,
But I think to open it up to,
A massive thing.
right, the physical fitness thing, there is a place, I think in Lake Orion or Oxford area, like a huge recreational amusement place. And I don't know, they might have go-karts there, and, they got everything. It's all
Inside.
indoors, right? But I don't know what kind of area or zoning that would be in, but when you talk about building a massive facility, those are out there. Like even C.J. Barrymore's, they don't have a building that big to encompass that, because a lot of the stuff is outside, but then they're limited by weather as far as, how much activities they could allow. But they've tried to put as much indoor as possible, but that's not out of the realm for somebody to build a big building to house all that as well.
So I'm on board with doing this the same way as I think we all were uniformly last time. It makes perfect sense. I just think it needs work to either make it finite, massage the language and the definition, or maybe we also need a definition for what's a physical fitness establishment.
Yeah, I could see adding a definition for that, and then if you wanted to put that in here, we could do that too.
I mean, ultimately, I don't see a problem with our recommending, and it'll be up to the board what the board's going to do. But when you get down to stuff like the gymnastics or the batting cage or the, smallish kind of pickleball stuff, yeah, we want that. It's just how do you do it the right way so you don't get confusion and, oh, well, is this what they meant, or is that not what they meant? And still get to the same end.
Yeah, I agree with that. Where I struggle is like we are never going to I doubt we're ever going to define all of the potential uses that we think could be good fits. And I know when we worked the LI, all of those districts, like some of those uses that were defined who knows how long ago, where it's like things that were not applicable anymore, we would never see. And so I guess without trying to, because 5 years ago, we wouldn't have put pickleball on here, right? It wasn't really a thing. And we don't necessarily want to have to keep adjusting the ordinance, as my opinion, but maybe we do, and maybe others feel differently, is there a way to make it less specific, but still more concise as to the types of things we want to see there?
Right, I mean, the granularity can only go so far. So, I mean, perhaps you would add a couple other things that might cover, like an archery range is sort of close enough to other range target things that you could probably infer from that. Because, basically, if it's not listed separately, it's going to fall in this bucket. If somebody comes up with some recreational use that happens indoors, this is the only place for it to go, really, if it's not otherwise listed on its own. So I think to a degree, it sort of sorts itself out. But I don't disagree that physical fitness establishments should be defined. And if you're okay with having those in the LI1 as well, then we would list them as well as number 9 below this. I think that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, certainly we can add a couple things to the list, but yeah, you will never get, the full list of things, which is why you've got the and similar uses.
Right, so if,
catcher in there.
and once we maybe massage it a little bit, we still come up with something at the end, like, and similar uses. This is just an educational question on my part, if somebody comes in and puts in an application or something, where does this go? Is that the zoning administrator's decision, or does it come back to the planning commission?
Ultimately, it's the zoning administrator's
Okay.
decision. They're the one he's going to be making the interpretation.
Okay.
I have a question. Where would a gun range, an indoor gun range fall in this list? Because it would technically be indoor recreation and allowed, the way this is written right now, right?
Let me just see
Is
if
that
it's
something that we
listed
would want
separately.
to allow? I don't know how loud they are from the outside.
You can't hear.
Yeah, they're block
Okay.
buildings.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you're building one correctly, you're soundproofing it.
This support continuous pour concrete.
Yeah, you're worried about a bullet
construction
going through, it's just gonna stop most sound.
I don't think we got anything like that.
Precast walls or continuous pour?
I'm sorry?
Precast walls would qualify for that.
I still didn't hear.
Except that the joining, precast walls would count as a continuous pour nowadays. They just tilt up.
Yeah, I don't think they're listed separately, so most likely they would wind up in here if we had something like archery ranges, because that would be similar enough to, there's a target at one end, you're standing at the other end and aiming.
Same
toward
thing
it,
for an
so-
axe throwing.
Yeah, of course, if that was part of a bar or something.
Oh, yeah,
it
that would be a
considered
no-go.
Accessory to that,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
So is the simplest fix for this just striking the physical fitness thing from the exclusions, or is it?
No, I think it needs more work.
Okay.
I don't, to me, I don't see that we can, I mean, we need to have the public hearing, obviously, but I don't think that we can move forward, because rightly so, Joe was also talking about now putting physical fitness establishments into the LI1 in addition to all this other stuff. So those are pretty big changes. I mean,
Okay.
to me, I think we would be wiser to take this as a discussion, let Joe come back. And I mean, we can keep the public hearing open, correct, Joe?
We
Or Jared?
can, we can. Well, although we probably would want to change it, because we're going to be, if we're changing the
Oh,
content
yeah,
of
with the
this,
C2 stuff.
We'd want to renotice it, because if we're changing the content, we're going to change what's in the notice. So I get, this defining physical fitness establishments, I can do that, that's pretty easy. Tweaking the list of things in indoor recreation, that's pretty simple. I do want to revisit the topic of a size cap, though, and take the temperature of the full planning commission on whether or not that's something that we want to put in there, because I want to do that now before we get to a hearing, if we're going to do it. I want to have a final, yes, we're doing it, no, we're not doing it, before we leave tonight, so that I can
Yes,
either
that
include
makes
it or
sense.
not.
I wish we could ask him, but in, conversation with Philbrook on something else completely, he asked me about, and I said, yeah, it's on our agenda tonight. And for some reason, he said something that made me think that he thought there was going to be some kind of cap on it, almost like the physical fitness establishments, but I don't want to say that for sure because I don't know if I heard him right.
Yeah, so physical fitness establishments are split into, it's 5,000 square feet or less, or over 5,000 And, for these, you might have a different square footage, I don't know.
Right. Well, I guess we could also have the opportunity to pick whatever we're gonna pick. I don't know if 5,000's, the right thing. But we could also talk about if somebody wants to come in and apply for something that's bigger than that, do we wanna put it in the SLU category? Which is what we've done with physical fitness and stuff.
Yeah, that's what you could do. You could split it at 500 like the others, make it by right below that,
There's some
and
big
make
ones.
it a special land use above that.
That way, we're not cutting our feet off if somebody came up with a really low-impact,
Yeah.
thing that was bigger than that.
You don't want to be plainly exclusionary for the purpose of it.
Yeah, like what Randy
Right.
described, I don't know that I have an issue with something like that. I don't know a lot about it, but,
It's called Legacy 925, it's in Oxford.
yeah.
There's a lot of big, like Sky Zone and in Shelby, and that's pretty big. I don't know,
They're over 5,000 square feet.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
there's-
For
definitely.
sure.
Yeah,
They're
it
closer
is.
to 20.
Right.
Yeah, probably
So
about
I can't
4
think of
times that.
something, I know there's a go-kart thing that, a lot of kid, type stuff, but what would, so as far as a cap, what would like the outside, the upper size, would that look like? What,
How big are these gymnastics places your kids go to?
Oh, they're all over the place. My daughter goes to a lot of different ones.
there's one right here, it's
Right.
at 32.
That's
and-
probably 10,000 square feet.
Okay.
I'm just guessing. But there's ones that are double to triple the size of that pretty easily. It depends on what you do and how big of an area you serve.
Yeah, I know he was here talking about building a new place,
Yeah.
and I don't remember, but
Yeah.
that was pretty
Because
big.
this place in Chesterfield, I think is double the size
Yeah.
of this one.
It's at least that big. Yeah, it's at
Yeah.
least double.
Just to give you a frame of reference, I'm looking back at a couple of industrial site plans, including one of the ones we're looking at tonight. And I've got like a 25,000 square foot building with 5 tenant spaces. So average 5,000 square feet in this particular plan. One of them's larger than the others, but nevertheless, average 5,000 square feet. We've got a 34,000 square foot building with 7 tenant spaces. Another one that's like 36,000 with 6 tenant spaces. So you're kind of in like 5,000 or a little more in a usual tenant space in a lot of these multi-tenant speculative industrial buildings that are being built in our industrial parks. So that's another point of reference for you, is that, I think if you set the cap at, let's say, 10,000 square feet or something, you'd probably be looking at using a couple of suites in one of these buildings, most likely.
Which that makes sense for some of the uses, like a physical fitness place, but we have trampoline park as one of our uses, and if we're saying Sky Zone's 20,000, then I would say, are we really crafting this in a way that would make that an option?
Yeah, that would become a special land use, basically. I think maybe you might, want to scrutinize the parking a little more on something that size.
The building in Chesterfield you're talking about is a little bit over 36,000 square feet. I'm the commercial industrial appraiser there, so. I'll
Okay.
back end into it. And it's 36,000 square feet, so if we're talking a cap and something or 10 or 20, you're disinviting those people. It's, if you want it or not, it's not up to me, I'm just one vote, but 40's probably a decent cap for something.
Overall, would you still when you're thinking about that, would you still suggest that over some limit in less than 40, it's a special land use?
I mean, there's a point where we should have to agree to something if it's going to be truly massive or out of the scale that we believe is what is necessary. So I guess, and do you think 20,000 is necessary, and above that you want to SLU it up to a certain point and then it's no? I don't recommend no anyway, it should just be an SLU above.
I think it would just be one cutoff, yeah, and if it's over, it's an SLU, and if it's under, it's a principal permitted use, and there's no like maximum, because you never know,
An acre is 43,560 square feet.
right,
So if you go with 40, it's an acre, it's a 1 acre building.
it's a 1 acre building, exactly.
I think we should also look at this from the perspective, it sounds like some of this is like we're looking at it like if there was a new building to be built. But also, I think a lot of these happened because there was industrial space available and these types of businesses moved into a 40,000 square foot building. And that's been successful. So I would probably be against a very like tight cap because I just don't think it's going to be like realistic. What you brought up, I think is valid, Emery, like, do we want a 10-acre complex? Maybe not, but that's 400,000 square feet. Right?
Like the soccer field on Powell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
That's a big building.
so I think, if you say, if it's below 40,000 square feet, it's a principally permitted use, and if it's above that, it's a special land use. That gives you your control to say, look, this thing is huge and it's gonna be disruptive in a lot of different ways in an area that we planned for industrial, so we're not comfortable with it. Yeah, the other things could go up to a fairly large size, and, some things, a yoga studio is obviously never gonna get to that size. I mean, wouldn't be very peaceful past a certain point, but, the trampoline park probably wouldn't be smaller than that. So it gives you a pretty decent range of things you can do as a principally permitted use. And if you're over that, then, yeah, we're gonna give it a closer look, and we're gonna, maybe think about, how this works with the parking and things like that, because you get over a certain size, and it's gonna start to be effective.
Right, and as a special land use, we can, put conditions on it.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
For reference point, location, close quarters tactical in Macomb, Shelby Township came up. That's a pretty good sized building. That's 20,000 square feet.
Okay, was it like a paintball thing or something?
No, it's a live shooting
It's gun
range.
range.
Oh, okay.
On Hall Road, right?
No, this is off of 23 Mile Road, near Shaner.
Oh, okay.
But maybe I stated incorrectly. I thought they were continuous pour, but they're concrete buildings.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not blind.
Precast, they're precast.
Back when
Yeah.
laser tag was the future, that could have been
There's a whole row of them, though. I mean, it looks like.
I mean,
Sure.
that's a good, just whoever said paintball, I mean, is that a recreational use?
Yeah, I think you don't have anywhere else to steer it in this ordinance, so that's where I would put it.
Right.
All right, so are we comfortable, like, with the 40,000 square foot cap as the starting point, and then SLU above that?
I'm good with that.
Yep.
That's mine.
Yeah, I think it's a good cutoff.
Okay.
I have one other comment. Is there some way that we should protect the ordinance to prevent facilities from turning into event venues? Like maybe stating somewhere that the primary use has to be that recreational use, so it can't turn into birthday parties, competitions, and, things like that?
I think birthday parties, I don't know if you've been to Sky Zone and some of those, that's like one of that's the only time I ever have been in those places is birthday
So
parties.
that would not really align with the parking requirements, I don't think, because you would have a lot more traffic for having multiple parties, but just something to think about, that they could then use the LI1 district for event venues through this recreational loophole. Not saying they couldn't do it, but it shouldn't be their primary use.
But it goes back to what you were saying, is if they're gonna do that, they're gonna need to accommodate parking, or they're not gonna have business for very long. It's gonna, it'll fulfill it. And I hate to have it boil down to that, but if you're not gonna have these things the third time you do it, and people have to park a mile away, it's.
Nobody wants to go,
Like
yeah.
at Simpson Park, when we were kids, they ran out of parking over and over and over again.
Joe, I
We're
sent,
going home.
you a document on the 7th of May, and part of that, it says recommended final definition. And indoor recreational facility recommends to not include stadium, arena, event center, banquet hall, nightclub, bar, outdoor commercial recreation use, firearm range, motorsports facility, adult entertainment use, or any use involving outdoor amplified sound, outdoor spectator events, or outdoor recreation activities.
Yeah, well, it's entirely indoors, so all the
Yeah.
outdoor stuff you can just pretty much ignore, but, Yeah, I mean, it's really up to you as far as what you actually wind up including. And the range, target-oriented uses, whether it's archery or whatever else you might be sending to the target, it's up to you. If you want to include that, then let's include it. I mean, if we don't feel like, for this community, that's not something we wouldn't want to include, then there's no reason not to include it. The event centers is a good point. I do think that Commissioner Hale has a point that, if someone's going to move into one of these buildings, they're going to be looking at they're going to have some sort of pro forma that they're dealing with to figure out if it makes sense to open their business here. And if they're planning on having, events that are large enough to really compromise their ability to operate with the parking lot that they've got on the site, they're most likely not going to locate there. We could put something in here about, event spaces should be incidental or something like that, where, they're not making it a primary event space. Most of these places, it is kind of incidental anyway, but I think we can certainly insert some language to that effect to make sure that we don't invite a problem. But I do think that, to a degree, market forces will probably mostly work it out. But it's a great point, and it's something that we need to think about. And arenas are listed separately, so I think we're okay there.
Are we good to open the public hearing?
Yeah, let's do that.
Motion to open the public hearing on the indoor recreation in LI1 district at 7:40 PM.
Second?
Seconded by Commissioner Hagglestein. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the public hearing is open on the indoor recreation in the LI1 district. Is anybody here to speak to that? Joe, so as we're waiting, if anybody wants to come up, we would ultimately close the public hearing after this and just open a new one next time with
Yeah,
a broader
we'll
scope?
We'll renotice with a broader scope.
Okay. All right, seeing nobody come, I motion to close the public hearing at 7:41 PM.
Second?
Seconded by Commissioner Hagglestein. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, so I think we've got a number of refinement points, feedback over to Joe. Joe, do you have any other questions, or are you good to go off and work on a amended language?
I think we addressed all my questions.
Okay, any other comments on this before we move on?
You gonna do a formal motion to postpone? I think we should.
Okay. Are we,
Do we have to do that if we're going to do a new notice?
I think it's best, because we had it on the agenda as an action item. I think it's best if we have a postponement and we just note that there will be an additional public hearing.
okay. Are we confident it would be in the July meeting, or do we need to add a buffer of like not to exceeds?
I think it's fine to put it in July.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see that problem with that.
That would make a motion to postpone the indoor recreation in the LI1 district proposed ordinance amendment changes until the July Planning Commission meeting due to the discussion around additional change and amendments to the language and also to allow us to have time to re-notify for a future public hearing in July.
Second?
Seconded by Commissioner Boyce.
Should we add specifically that we're going to add C2 and C3 to that as part of that motion?
Yeah, we can specify in that motion, Dana, that would be to include C2 and C3 in the public hearing next time. All in favor? Is this a affirmation, Joe?
You can do this by, yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, I don't think there's a need for a roll call on that.
All right. That wraps up our public hearings for this evening. Everybody good to keep going, or do we need to take 5? Hearing Hearing no request to postpone.
I hear the crowd saying, power through.
Yeah. Yeah, that takes us to our reviews. Thank you for your patience. We will do site plan review for Unit 6, unless, Joe, you think there's a reason to, no, we'll do it separately. I think that's how we've done them in the past.
We'll do them separately, yeah. So, yeah, I'll just go through my letter here and then, let's see. So, on Lot 6, we're looking at Lot 6 and Lot 7 tonight. So we're down at the cul-de-sac area of the Cordy development. So Unit 6, they're proposing a 47,000 square foot building divided into a couple of units, each with its own entrance. And the applicant estimates that about 5,000 of those square feet will ultimately be used as office space. That would be pretty consistent with the other things that we've seen go in this development. The site would be served by a couple of driveways onto Cordy Road. They enter the cul-de-sac directly. It's 3.56 acres. Of course, it's zoned LI1, as is everything around it, except that we have Romeo to the south. They don't call their industrial LI1, but it is industrial zoning. Looking at the dimensional standards of the LI1 district, they do meet them all. There was one setback that wasn't labeled, but it was clearly in excess of 35 feet. And they do meet the height limit as well. We have our building appearance standards. So we require, if a non-residential building is within 200 feet of the front lot line, front walls of the building have to be constructed of stone, face brick, or other decorative material approved by the Planning Commission. And the building's northwest corner is within that 200 feet. So we're going to be looking for that on the front facade. What they're showing is brick around the primary entrances and at 2 additional points wrapping to the sides of the building. There's brick wainscoting along the ground, along the full front facade. The rest of the front facade is EIFS paneling, so that's something that you'll have to discuss as a material. Is that a decorative material that you're okay with approving, or would you like to see something else there? That brings us to parking. So we use 90% of gross floor area when looking at industrial and warehouse uses. My parking numbers came out a little different from what I saw on the plans, and there's a few different reasons for that. But what they did is they provided 2 estimates for parking on the site, one assuming that the non-office space would be warehousing and the other assuming it would be shop space. And shop space requires more parking than warehousing. They provided parking based on the higher number. There was an incorrect divisor used there, so based on our calculation, the number comes out between the 2 requirements. But at any rate, they are providing what I think should be enough spaces on these sites for the uses that are proposed here. Usually, when you have a shop use, you also have at least a little bit of square footage of warehouse too. So when we do that shop calculation, it's usually a little excessive because there's almost always something that's used for storage of both the inputs and the outputs that takes up some of that space that is kind of being calculated as shop. Off-street loading requirements. So we require 10 by 50-foot loading space for the first 20,000 square feet, and then another one for an additional 20,000 square feet. So this is a 47,000 square foot building. Each tenant space has a 28.5 square foot by 50-foot loading dock area. There's also a lot of additional space behind the building that can be used for loading, so I think we're good on loading. Looking at the landscaping, between parking lot landscaping and green belts, et cetera, we don't have any adjacent uses that we require screening to. But we're short one tree because the subdivision ordinance requires that every lot in a subdivision have a tree on it. That's what, it always gets missed because it's not in the zoning ordinance. So they'll have to add one tree to meet that standard, but otherwise they have the 9 that they're required to have based on the parking. They're not proposing any outdoor storage. They do have a trash enclosure. It's a little bit in a water easement, so the engineer commented on that, and that's probably ultimately going to have to be removed to be outside that easement. We had a photometric plan. There were a couple notes that we had on that. We didn't have cut sheets, so we'll need those to demonstrate that we've got the downward shielding that we're requiring. And then we have a couple of values on the northern property line that were above 0.1, but I wasn't real clear what the source would be for that light. Otherwise, the lighting levels looked fine at the property line, but there were those two kind of aberrant values there that I just wasn't really sure why they were even coming up as 0.2, because there didn't seem to be a light that would make the 0.2 show up there. So with that said, do you have any questions for me before we talk to the applicant?
I have a question, Joe. It's not on your memo, but I'm assuming it's what did get in the memo for lot 7, and that's the Kelvin value is 3,000, I think?
Yeah, 3,000, yeah. Oh, yeah, I didn't put it in the
Yeah, it
table
looks
on
like
this
the
one.
bottom line of the table maybe got dropped off or something.
Yeah, I think something happened there. Okay, yeah, but yes, you're correct, it's 3,000. So they are meeting our standard. We have a max of 4,000.
And then, are you going to talk about the engineer's memo, or does that speak for itself?
It can speak for itself, but if you have anything you particularly want to address in it, we can talk about it.
I mean, I think it's pretty focused on the site plan design, but I do have one thing. Dana, is this one of the ones where the fire department waived comment? Because that's what the engineer said.
Yeah, he said everything at this point is fine. He'll look at it again. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Joe. Any questions for Joe or the applicant? Anything to add that we haven't covered already?
I would just like to add, Joe, thank you for your recommendation in your letter. There are some comments from Joe and some comments from engineering. We've reviewed those, and I don't see anything that can't be overcome. The cut sheets for the lighting, we can certainly send those in. They are downward shielding. We know that you guys just redid your lighting ordinance, and we are in compliance with that. The 0.2 at the lot line, we'll get it corrected. It was a matter of how they were measuring it. We can get that revised. So we are asking for approval contingent upon administrative review, that our next submission meets Joe's requirements. The only thing of any of these comments that kind of moves the site is the dumpster enclosure. But again, I've reviewed that. It would be shifting the dumpster enclosure less than 5 feet. So we don't see any concerns there from a maneuverability standpoint, the building size, the setbacks. And to the engineer's comments, we have to go through full engineering review after this, so I'm positive that all of those items, well, they have to be resolved before we can get our permits, so. That really only leaves the parking and the building material. I think for the parking, there's a misunderstanding of the interpretation of the ordinance. For a little history, when we first started this development, it was a few years back, and when we did, I believe it was Unit 3, when we were in the process of that unit, the parking ordinance actually changed. Basically, your warehouse, 1 per 500 square feet is the requirement, and then the industrial is 1 per 1,500 square feet. At the time the ordinance changed, there was a lot of discussion, and so what we ended up doing, and there is a footnote in the ordinance that basically says to combat that, if you are approved as warehouse, but there's potential that you could end up with a tenant in industrial, which is the larger parking ordinance, that you have to basically meet in the middle, which is how we interpret the footnote, as 1 per 1,000. That rationale has been applied to all of the units with the exception of 1 in this development, and that first exception was before the adoption. So, like Joe said, we believe that there's sufficient parking. These are the last 2 units in the development to get built, and we haven't had an issue with any of the parking yet. The owner does lease these spaces, so kind of to a comment made earlier by Commissioner Boyce, it's really in his best interest to provide sufficient parking. If he doesn't, tenants aren't going to move in. So he's confident that we've provided enough. I'm confident. And yeah, we're asking for your approval on the parking as presented.
Yeah, to kind of follow up on what she's saying about that parking requirement, because we have that 1,500 square foot requirement for warehouse, but there's the footnote that says that you have to at least have space on the lot to build additional spaces. So what they're essentially doing is they're aiming for that. They're providing kind of those extra spaces. If it was warehouse, they would be putting a lot fewer spaces on the site, but they're going to that per 1,000 square foot standard to get in between the 2 calculations that you would have for shop space and warehouse. And like I said, there's almost always some sort of warehouse component, even if you are primarily focused on shop space, because you have to have somewhere to keep your inputs and your outputs once you've, before they're put together or after you've put them together, because obviously, they don't just magically leave the building or appear in the building. So I do think that I have no concerns with the parking.
Yeah, that's, I just wanted to confirm. I noted down that you thought that was sufficient at 54. Like, correct? You've not called it out as a concern, I thought.
Oh, right, yeah, no, I
Yeah,
haven't called
from
it
your
out as a
comments,
concern.
okay.
Yeah.
Talk to us about this EIFS paneling. Have you
Yeah.
been using these on the other buildings?
We have not, and admittedly, the owner had driven down a neighboring industrial cul-de-sac. And really, I mean, he admitted he should have been putting some different facades together because this road is very cookie cutter, copy and paste of the building material. So in an effort to distinguish different facades, he wanted to introduce different building materials. The EIFS paneling is durable. It doesn't have quite the longevity of a block, but I don't know how you could. It is 60-plus years lifespan. And again, kind of to the parking, he leases these buildings, so it is in his best interest to pick a material that is durable. I know Joe's comment basically asked for reassurance that this meets the intent of the durability, and we believe it does. Our own building, as a firm of architects and engineers, has EIFS paneling, and we designed our own building back in the 80s. So we're confident that the material will hold up, and it meets the intent of what you're going for.
What type of material is it?
I'm not an architect, and I wish that the owner was here to talk to it, but my understanding is that it's basically a board with stucco. It's not quite concrete, but it's basically as hard or durable as that.
It's essentially a stucco, yeah. EIFS stands for Exterior Insulation Finishing System. So Drive-It is one of the brand names for EIFS. And I get more concerned about it at the ground level, because the ground level is where people can come into contact with it. And I do have kind of a history of observing EIFS damage when it's coming into contact with people.
So it's not a high-density product.
It's, I guess, yeah, it is, it's a lightweight product, fairly lightweight anyway. But it includes the insulation, it has to be drained. There's definitely a set of very specific construction requirements that go with adding it to a building. In some ways, it's sort of similar to like a brick veneer in the way that it has to be drained. Yeah, it basically is a stucco-ish material in terms of what it looks like on the outside.
Can I figured you were
Oh,
looking up a
yeah, do you have a picture?
We did print one out. This is a different building that we had designed in a very similar fashion to what Joe was saying. The brick is kind of below, which we're proposing on our unit, and then basically these walls, everything in light blue is the paneling. So it is up above the ground. You can pass that down.
And the color is impregnated in EIFS, so it's not like it has to be painted or something. It's dyed, essentially, whatever color it's going to be.
Yeah, it looks like it's referred to as a siding.
But yeah, it's a siding product.
Okay.
Because it's applied to a facade.
Okay.
And again, I tend to be most concerned about it when it's at ground level. If you can ram a hand truck into it, it's probably not in the right location. But if it's above where people are going to come into contact with it, then I usually don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for the applicant or Joe? No hearing on this one, so it's really just up to the commissioners. Again, this doesn't go to the board since it's a preliminary site plan approval. So it's just, if there was a motion, it would be a motion to approve or deny.
Pending administrative approval.
Sorry?
Pending administrative approval,
Yes.
as the applicant pointed out.
Yeah, certainly there's some things in here that would probably be contingent upon.
I think that's usually what we're saying in the motion.
Yeah.
Is enough saying this just contingent on administrative approval, or we need to spell out the specific items?
I think our history is spelling out the
Yeah.
specific items, yeah.
History is
Couldn't the engineering review just reference the engineering?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
engineering,
Yeah.
yeah.
That will cut it down quite a bit.
Reference Joe's memo.
Yeah.
What do we feel comfortable with here? What are we going to draw the line?
I think we would spell out the things in Joe's memo. There's not that many.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if you're okay with the material, you're going to specify that you're okay with the material.
Okay, I'll take a stab at it.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to submit a motion recommending preliminary site plan approval for.
It would just be a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Yep.
Did I say recommendation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking not to say that, but I said it anyway. Thanks for helping me out. Okay, motion for preliminary site plan approval for Corte Industrial Unit 6 at 70294 Corte Road, parcel ID number 01-36-205-009 and contingent on administrative approval of content contained in Joe Tangari Skipples Webster memo dated May 20th, 2026. Specifically, under item 5, appearance, the Planning Commission has agreed that the EIFS paneling is approved based on it being at a level above, what, 4 feet?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay? And next item, feel free to take, and, I get done with this, feel free to tell me with motion if it needs revision. Okay, under item 9, green belts, berms, and walls, between parking lot and street tree requirements, 10 trees required, so 1 additional tree should be added to the plan. Item 11, trash enclosure, that is going to be moved out of the water easement. And also the cut sheets will be provided at second site plan approval for the lighting to substantiate that they're fully shielded fixtures. And then also one last item here. Yeah, there's some foot candle values of the northern property line. They're shown at .2, which exceeds the allowable requirement, and so that will need to be resolved at second site plan review as well.
Can you repeat that?
Engineering review.
I'm sorry? Yeah.
Add the engineering review as part of the motion, right?
Items in the engineer's letter.
Yeah. Just
Contingent upon.
contingent upon satisfactory remediation of the engineering
Okay, all right.
comments.
Do you want?
Got it?
I'm sorry.
Oh, got it. You got Jared's language, Dana? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so I have one clarification as well. On Joe's review, the parcel ID ends in 009, everything else we have ends in 006. And he read 009 as the parcel ID.
It is 006.
Well, certainly.
Yeah, the memo, it says 009, that's why I read it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
incorrect. Correct.
Is it 6?
It is
Six.
6, correct.
She said it's 6.
All right. Thank you, David.
And do you want to add anything on there that we're in agreement with the planner's recommendation that the 54 parking spaces are sufficient?
I agree to that.
All right.
We got a motion?
We have a motion from Commissioner Hegelstein.
Support.
Support from Commissioner Hale. Dana, would you call the roll, please?
Cant,
Yes.
Boyce,
Yes.
Barnett,
Yes.
D. Vincent.
Yes.
J. Vincent.
Yes.
Hale,
Yes.
Hagelstein.
Yes.
Motion carries. Site plan is approved for number 6.
Thank you.
Let's keep the momentum here. Let's go to number 7. Joe, I think just any call out, any variance?
Sorry, what now?
Item 7, or Unit 7?
Yes, Unit 7.
I imagine some things are the same, but
Yes, many things are the same. We're looking at Unit 7. This is a smaller building, 25,266 square feet. Also a smaller lot, 2.07 acres. About 4,000 of those square feet are estimated to be office space. Still completely surrounded by industrial zoning. All the setbacks and building height are fine. The building appearance standards, I think just a little less subjectivity here. They've got brick bands on alternating units with metal paneling in between. For off-street parking, it's the same basic deal as the last one. We've shot for the middle of the 26 versus 53, and wound up at 32. Again, I think that's adequate. For loading, we have a 25,000 square foot building here, so we would require one loading space for that. Each unit does have a roll-up door, and there's a large space along the entire rear of the building that accommodates loading. They didn't specifically mark any of it, but it's very much there, so I'm not concerned about loading. Same thing with the tree, we just need the one additional to satisfy the one street tree per unit standard that's in the subdivision ordinance. They're not proposing any outdoor storage. Dumpster enclosure on this one is fine. It meets the standards and it's not in an easement. And then we've got a photometric plan, but we also are missing the cut sheets on this one, and we had a couple of those anomalous values here as well. Otherwise, the standards are met.
I would just say, same thing that we said for Unit 6, we will provide the cut sheets. Again, we have no concern with any of the comments that Joe or engineering has made. We will get those adjusted. And again, are asking for approval contingent upon Joe administrative approval, as well as engineering.
Do you have a picture of what the facade will look like on this one?
I don't have a printed picture, just the elevation that was provided in the plan set. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Joe or the applicant on Unit 7 site plan review? And if not, is there another motion?
Yeah, I'll go for it, I'm on a roll here.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to submit a motion for preliminary site plan approval for Corte Industrial Unit 7 at 70392 Corte Road, parcel ID 0136205-007, and subject to administrative review or satisfaction of the content in Joe's memo, more specifically. And looking at first, the parking, we've settled on 32 spaces being allowed. Under trees, there's one additional tree required. The cut sheets are going to be required to substantiate that the exterior lighting are all full cutoff fixtures. And also the .2 valley along the north property line, that's going to be remediated. And this is also subject to engineering approval. Anybody else got any content to add?
Did you say about the north property line?
It's the several .2 values, the foot candle values.
Oh,
The lighting.
Yeah.
Did you speak about the facade and if we're okay with that?
I don't think there was an
Yeah.
issue on this one.
Yeah,
It says she should discuss, correct?
I think you included that you were okay with the materials, or did I?
He didn't on this one.
Okay.
He should discuss, okay, so are we satisfied with,
Well, I know we've approved other ones that have metal paneling.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why I figured
So-
it was probably fine.
I don't think this is outside of anything else we've approved.
hearing no objection, we discussed it and we agree that the materials provided meet the requirement?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hagelstein, seconded by Commissioner Cant. Dana, would you call the roll when you are ready?
Hale,
Yes.
Hagelstein, He's a yes. Can't?
Yes.
Yes.
Boyce?
Yes.
Barnett?
Yes.
D. Vinson?
Yes.
J. Vinson?
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thanks, Joe, Dana.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks for being
All
patient.
right. That takes us through our reviews. So moving on here, any communications this evening? Hearing none, we go to our unfinished business. 10A is master plan discussion.
Obviously, we don't have anything in your packet for that, and we've basically been kind of waiting to get through the high-intensity industrial and data center discussion to finish that out. But I think we have a meeting on the calendar next week amongst Rick, Mandy, and myself to figure out what we're going to bring to you in July, and we should be putting that to bed soon.
All right. I know originally, I think we've been waiting to see what happened to the south of us since that has gone away. Does that have an impact?
Right, we're not sure if their acoustic engineer is still going to produce a report or anything, but we're looking at other ordinances
Okay.
for noise references anyway, so I think we'll be able to figure it out.
Yeah, understanding the landscape, I think it behooves to take and do the broader, you just mentioned the broader scope.
Right.
So, but their next PC is on the 11th of June, so.
Right.
Hopefully, they're,
The packet's not posted yet as of today, which may include, I think their not their engineer, I think the noise or sound expert, whatever
Yeah, the
his
acoustic
title is.
engineer, yeah.
I believe he was gonna come back with a little bit more. So there may be something in their packet that we can look at.
Did they
And
haven't?
for sure, their
Sorry, Anne Marie.
planner, what's her name, Kayla
Malden.
Malden, was gonna continue to provide them more ordinance language.
Yeah, I don't think they're stopping, because
Yeah.
the rezoning application got withdrawn. I think they're still going to adopt something.
Right.
Yeah, it's,
Did they have an environmental report being done? No. Wonder
although
why.
the public requested it several times.
Yeah, right after board meeting a couple months ago, the day after, I sent a email to Sam Pravetti, because at that meeting, they approved a $10,000 expenditure. This may have been 3 months ago, but a $10,000 expenditure to hire a acoustic professional per Attorney Bob Siebert's advisement. And then also, Sam asked about allocating another $10,000 towards a second consultant category TBD. So I jumped on the bandwagon, I sent him a respectful email asking him to consider hiring an environmental consultant. So I get that this is a hot potato, what he's able to communicate. I really don't expect to hear back from him on anything, he's got to be very careful. So, but he knows about it. So either they're doing something, they're not, or, we just don't know at this point. So hopefully we'll know more when the packet's posted.
Okay. So, just to recap then, Joe, you are expecting that in July, we would have some proposed ordinance amendment for heavy industrial use?
Yes.
And once that is then finalized, we can work towards wrapping up our master plan?
Yep.
Okay.
May I ask a question, Joe?
Of course.
Are you still thinking that the ordinance is gonna center, or involve the various parts that you showed us last month?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there won't be a major structural change at this point. We're kind of just trying to figure out what the final.
Correct,
language is.
so I'm taking it, even if it was in August, let's say, after we've gone through a first really good hashing, if there was more materials coming out from Washington, we could always adapt those in, correct?
we'll be
And-
fine to.
I just want to note, so I will be gone the last 2 weeks of June, so we have a meeting scheduled for next week. We'll get done what we can. I don't feel comfortable guaranteeing that we're going to come back with language on all of these documents. There's a lot here, but I think we'll do what we can, so.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear everything you said, Mandy, regarding all the documents.
I said, I don't feel comfortable saying we're going to come back with polished material and all of the things that are in the high-intensity packet. I think we have one meeting scheduled. We're going to make some good progress. We have some documents to reference now, as of this morning, that should help us. But I don't want to promise more than we can accomplish in one meeting, so.
August is going to be a squeeze, correct?
I think August, we'd be able to look at everything, but I also think, let's see what Washington Township's packet says for the 11th, which we might know before our meeting, if it comes out on the 10th.
Yeah, we ought to know before then, because we'll be able to look at the packet at least online.
But you're available for one more meeting, and then I committed, but you probably haven't heard yet, that I can meet with you. I think we need to meet every week, Joe, for an hour. You know, have a meeting just to make sure that, you know, we're moving in the same direction. You know, we got a unified understanding.
Okay. Sounds good. Did you-
I ask a question,
Yep.
Dana, we still have 5G on here, but you guys took care of that,
Oh, yeah.
right?
I did leave it on. I didn't know if I needed a formal, from you to take it off, or if I can just,
If they
'cause-
took care of it, then I think we can just take it off.
okay, it's gone.
Thank you.
Say
So-
goodbye.
That takes us to 10B, agribusiness, agritourism. I think that's still wrapped up in the master plan discussion, correct? Anything else?
Correct.
Okay. And then 10D is data center discussion. I think we kind of just covered that.
Yeah.
So
Just covered that, yeah.
we will look forward to the subcommittee's feedback at the next meeting. That takes us to item 11, new business, amendment to extend ZBA approval expiration from 6 months to 1 year.
That's basically the summary of it.
Yeah, there's not much more.
Right now, they can, well, they can do a temporary use for up to 12 months, but everything else that the ZBA approves is valid for 6 months. So recently, we doubled the validity period for PC approvals from 1 year to 2. And this would be kind of also doubling the ZBA validity period from 6 months to a year in this case. One thing that we're finding is that people are getting variances, and it's like a real scramble to get their shovel in the ground before their variance expires in 6 months. So we just thought that extending it to a 1 year validity period made some sense.
What's necessary in order to do so?
The usual public hearing and recommendation to the township board.
So it's for us to make a motion because this is part of the ordinance?
Exactly,
The
yeah.
timeframe definition?
Yeah, so if you're good with extending that from, and it's literally just changing 6 months to 1 year, that's the only text change.
Do you have the site for the text?
Yeah, the section is 7.1H.
7.1H, as in Henry.
Yes.
Is this something that has been discussed with the ZBA?
Yeah, Tom Kilcoffin was present for the discussion, and, yeah, it's just too tight a constraint on some applicants. And through no fault of the ones I'm thinking of are through no fault of their own, so. Just stuff.
Is there any downside to extending it, like, that we need to just be aware of?
I mean, not really, because the PC approval already has a 2-year period, so they've got a lot of time to get going under their site plan approval. You know, they're generally speaking, they're getting their variance after they get site plan approval. So it's happening within that 2-year period, and I think we're just giving them more time to get through engineering review and, you know, if they have state approvals or something, that can take forever to get their answer back from a department like Eagle or something. So we're just giving them a little bit more.
Yeah, it
fighting
seems to
chance.
match a little more with, like, for example, the church, you go through the site plan, then they had to get the height variance. So it really seems kind of to make their variance, expire in 6 months, but the rest of everything is 2 years, just to kind of give them a little more room.
This would apply, correct, to variances that also apply to variances that don't involve the PC.
That's correct, yeah.
And what triggers the cancellation of the expiration? So like, they have to start the project or they have to finish the project?
Start.
Start,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's the concept of vested right. Once you've begun your project, you have a vested right in the project, and you can complete it.
Okay. Okay. So I assume if we were good with this, we would have a public hearing in July.
Yeah,
And-
this one seems a little simpler than the other one.
Yeah.
I'll take a stab here.
Okay.
Me too. Make a motion that we set a public hearing for the Planning Commission's July 2026 meeting to address a amendment to section 7.1H of the zoning ordinance in order to extend the ZBA variance approval period from 6 months to 1 year.
Support?
Motion by Commissioner Boyce, second by Commissioner D. Vinson. Dana, would you call the roll, please?
Hale,
Yes.
Hagelstein,
Yes.
Boyce,
Yes.
Cant,
Yes.
Barnett,
Yes.
Vinson,
Yes. I
Jay
assume it was
Vinson.
me.
Yes. Sorry,
Yes.
Jay Vinson.
Motion carries. All right, so that means 2 public hearings, so 3 public hearings in July if the due to SLU comes back. All right, gonna be a busy July. Comments from committees and consultants, we heard from most, but none more, so comments from commissioners. I know the one thing we did have as a carryover was the July meeting date. We talked about that last month. As it stands right now, it would be on, I think it is the 1st?
It's the first.
Yeah, the 1st. Is that,
You're not going to be there, correct? You won't be back yet.
I will not be at the July 1st meeting, no.
okay, so we'd be without Mandy, and I know you at the time were
Yeah.
no, but maybe yes, but,
I'm still no, but maybe yes, but
Okay.
frankly, I would like Mandy to be able to be at the meeting since we're getting into the guts of the data center and
Yeah.
how industrial uses.
Could we
She's
postpone
one
the
of our
meeting for a week?
experts.
I don't have any concern with that.
We did that before.
Yeah, we've done it a few times. So if we postpone the meeting for July to the 8th, which is the second Wednesday in July, does that work for everybody?
I just gotta check my calendar here.
Well, people are looking, Dana, I think you said before that the supervisor leaves it to the board's discretion? Or the planning commission's?
He has, he, he does.
He's expressed opinions in the past.
Yes, thank you, Jared, that's exactly what I was trying to say.
And there's time enough to update the website and whatnot?
Yes.
The
And-
8th will work for me.
Get to work.
Joe,
Good on the
what do you, what's your,
Yeah, from an OMA perspective, Open Meetings Act, we're fine.
Okay.
Change it now.
Can you make it on the
I
8th?
meant, can you make it? Yeah.
Yeah, I can be here on the 8th.
And we'll have to remember to do the public hearing notices for the 8th and not the 1st.
Yeah, I can check on it. I don't know if there's anything else scheduled that night. That would be the only other problem is there something scheduled here for that night? It's probably unlikely, but
And you could check on that, though?
I can check on that and send you out a note later tonight. Or I can run right now and go check, but,
The people who are delayed, asked to be delayed, postponed, the students.
yeah. I will check with them too. Can I verify all of this tomorrow?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
I would say tentatively, we plan, though, on moving the meeting to July 8th, pending confirmation from Dana. Okay?
I got a question.
Okay.
Need some opinion here. For accessory building benchmarking, I just wrote down some municipalities within Oakland County, Macomb County, and Lapeer. Starting with Oakland County, I've got Oakland Township, and then Addison, that's a municipality in itself, I believe, isn't it?
Yes, Addison Township. is
Township,
there,
yeah.
yes.
So do we want to go any further south in Oakland Township, like Rochester Hills, or basically too much of a different demographic?
I think Rochester Hills is typographically different.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll leave that. So for Oakland County, again, Oakland Township, Addison, Macomb County, Washington, Ray, Richmond, Armada,
Lennox.
Lennox.
We always
I think as we
compare,
get
so-
further east of Lennox, we fall into a different demographic as well,
Yes,
okay?
maybe the north end of Chesterfield, but not really.
What about Elmont?
Elmont, yep, I've got, Elmont, is Elmont Lapeer County?
Elmont is Lapeer
Okay,
County.
so Lapeer County, that was my third grouping. I've got Leonard and Elmont. Anything else? in-
Elmont Township.
I'm sorry, Elmont,
Township. is it?
Elmont Township?
Yeah, I think you want to look at the township
Township
more
and
so.
not-
than-
Not
Yeah.
Elmont Village.
And then maybe Berlin. That'll be about it.
Berlin Township?
Yes, I
Is that
believe,
toward Memphis?
yeah, I believe Berlin Township now has its ordinance on its website. The last time we did this, they didn't, so.
Okay, so we're pretty comfortable with that?
Is
pretty wide.
Is Oxford next to us, or is it
Oxford?
past Addison?
Yes.
It's past Addison.
Yeah.
Okay. but-
That's past Lake Orion, too.
Okay,
North.
I'm good with that list.
Okay, all right. So I'll do some poking. I'll try to take and do some preliminary work for you, Joe, so you don't have to start from ground zero.
Okay.
All right? Thank you.
Focus
Thanks,
on the
Rick.
townships.
Are we going to add, looking at the frontage square footage to prepare for this law that's going into effect in March? I know we have a full meeting at the next one, but I want to make sure this doesn't fall off and that we do start looking at that and addressing it to be proactive. So,
I agree. Do we want to,
Consider making it wider? Right.
Well, I think we
Where you
look at
wanna
what,
keep it rural,
I think
yes.
we look at what we have and then figure out from there, do we need to make changes to? Because the thing is, if you've got one minimum lot width or one minimum lot size, and then you make it larger, one potential side effect of that is that you just created a whole bunch of non-conforming lots. So we want to make sure that we don't do that unless it's absolutely necessary. But I think we can start by looking at, well, what do we have on the books? And then compare that
I
to
don't think that's.
what can happen and,
I don't think this, do we have frontage listed in BSNA?
Yeah, there is, but I mean.
Yeah, it does.
You lost me. What topic are we talking about? We were talking about
This is
accessory
the-
buildings.
the-
Yeah,
Lot
has this
split.
passed already, Andrew? Has this,
Yeah.
Oh,
this
yeah,
has
it's
already
going into
passed?
effect next month.
Mid-March next year, it's live.
Okay, all right. I didn't know it would
I
had
remember
passed through
when
already.
I wasn't on the PC, but this kind of came up when rezoning was being looked at. And in the, for lack of better words, called the legacy part of the township, like the older streets and the older subdivisions down here, especially the stuff that was platted but didn't have a HOA or type arrangement. There were a lot of non-conforming, and that was because they were that way before they
Yeah.
had a zoning ordinance. I think there's definitely quite a few on just raw acreage. Like it's sticking in my mind that I was looking at the R1A list, and there was quite a bit of it that were lots that were under the threshold, but they were platted that way.
Yeah, I mean,
So you can't do anything about it.
if it's an existing lot before whatever we change, there's a lot of record, and you're going to have a very hard time telling them they can't build on it.
Oh, yeah, they'll still be able to build on it
Yeah.
and everything, yeah.
But the concern would be going forward would be 10 splits on 10 acres, and what do you want that to look like?
So mainly, you're thinking that it's going to come up on larger tracts of land?
Yes.
That are
Yeah.
zoned
Absolutely.
for, yeah.
Yeah, it's just if you have a larger zoning frontage, larger frontage allowable, you want to look at that from a master plan. Like if you have this whole area of ag, but ag still has a frontage amount that they need to build for a maximum of 1 to 4 by state, you need to know what you want that to look like for master planning. And if you're trying to, these zones are expanding out, what does it look like? How dense do you want it to be? Knowing that the splits can't protect you anymore, to a point.
Thank you, Lansing.
Yeah. So I think
Yes.
it's a good call out by Mandy. We don't want to lose sight of this. We have some time because it doesn't take effect till March, but obviously we will need some time to work through the process, probably 4 months, I would just say. Do we want to pencil this in for August, given that we've already got a lot scheduled for July?
I can see in August 2 things happening. Number one, another cut at the data center stuff, and also, it's gonna probably be August or September, where we know enough to say, okay, this is where we're gonna be on the high-intensity stuff. How does that get
Right.
integrated into the master plan stuff? And then he's gonna have to walk us through the conduct of that. That would probably be something we want to prioritize. This is just my feeling here. I'll throw it out. We haven't discussed it yet. But we're gonna have to put a notice of a town hall meeting.
Right.
I am not an advocate on something like this of only doing like 1 month notice. I think it should be out there at least 2 months, and I will also advocate that we do a mailer of some kind to get as many people here as we can. Not that it's gonna work, but
Okay, so.
Well, I think for
back
this,
to-
why don't we
back to
just,
the lot split topic.
why don't we
Yeah,
put it
I'd
on the
wait.
agenda, and then we know that it's not the highest ticket item, and we can always say, okay, we're gonna talk about
defer it
this
to
next month.
or something.
Just to keep it on there as a placeholder.
You just want to fill that 5G spot.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think if we put on the agenda, I'd want to be fair to Joe, like, are we expecting him to have something prepared or not?
I mean, if the thing I've got to have prepared for July is what are our current lot size requirement, that's like 3 minutes of work.
Okay.
I just have to slam it into I can easily put that in your packet, yeah.
Okay, well, let's put on July then. If we have the time and energy to get to it in July, we will, and if we don't, we'll just kick it to August. And if we have to kick it again, we'll kick it again.
I've got a question for Joe. There's another municipality that did not hold a town hall meeting prior to master plan revision. And so I looked it up, and if my read on that's correct, it's not a requirement.
That's correct, it's not a requirement. You
So,
have
I just
lot,
want to toot our horn. I think this municipality does an excellent job giving our constituency an opportunity to provide input during multiple times,
yeah.
going above and beyond what the requirement is.
From a statutory standpoint, your required public input is a public hearing at the end of the process. That's the only thing you have to do from a statutory standpoint.
Thank you.
All right.
Before we wrap, how did you want me to read that on the agenda, or word that on the agenda, that last item for July?
Andrew or Mandy, do you have a recommended language for that?
Review of lot frontages in
Yeah, I mean, you could probably
residential
say
zoning districts.
lot size and width analysis or something like that, and we'll just look at the table and see what we think.
Okay. All right.
Got it.
Move to adjourn, 8:38 PM.
Second?
Seconded by Hagelstein. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Meeting is adjourned. Look,
Got off to
Nor-
a slow start, but we kind of like, got the turbo boost.
Yeah, we got efficient at the end.
What's up?
I'm thinking it's quick based on a town hall discussion, and not being Lennox Township. Don't be Lennox.
Oh, did they have their meeting?
Don't be Lennox.
Did they have it yet?
Oh, yeah, we stacked the last 2 nights in Lennox with almost 300 people each night.